One of the most fascinating paintings in the world, and one of the most beautiful paintings, is Da Vinci's master painting of the Last Supper. Well, there's a new book out now that really creates a mystery around this painting and raises the questions about some of the symbols that are in the painting, really indicating to people what Da Vinci really thought about Jesus. It's a new novel by a Spanish writer, Javier Sierra is his name. It's called The Secret Supper, and he joins us now to talk about some of the painting's hidden messages. And it's a great pleasure to have you here. What you've written is really, the painting was finished in late 15th century.
That's it, yeah.
And so you've created sort of a 15th century mystery. But what fascinated me were the clues that you find in the painting itself. And one of the things is you've used some modern technology to determine that Da Vinci painted himself into the painting, correct?
Yes, that was my big discovery while researching for this novel, for The Secret Supper. If you look at this character on the right, this is Judas Thaddeus, the good Judas. This is the good
Right here.
Yes, right here. There are the good Judas and the bad Judas, the evil one, that is Judas Iscariot.
Right.
But Judas Thaddeus has the same face of Leonardo da Vinci. He used his face to portray this man. This was at the beginning only a suspicion, but I used face recognition software to compare this face with the face of the famous self-portrait of Leonardo. And it was quite incredible because while comparison both faces, the level of comparison reached up to 86.6%.
And you find it significant that Da Vinci paints himself and someone else, who you identify, facing away from Christ.
Yes, they are with their backs to Jesus. This has a meaning for sure. Leonardo in this place portrayed himself between two disciples. They are talking about something more important than what is saying in this moment Jesus. And these characters are probably, this Simon is Plato, the philosopher, the great philosopher. He used a famous marble statue of Plato to create this face, and this man is Marsilio Ficino, that was the man who translates into Latin the works of Plato.
So you find in this, because what's interesting is there was no mass media in those days.
No.
So in many respects, paintings like this were the mass media of the day. And so Da Vinci is conveying what message by having himself and these characters talk about Plato and face away from Jesus?
He's trying to say us something. And probably what is trying to say is that he was not an Orthodox Christian. He is apart from the Orthodoxy.
Right. And he was something
Jesus.
of a heretic.
Yes, and he was more close to philosophical ideas of that time than to Christian ones. He was described so by the first biographers of Leonardo, early 16th century.
Significance of Peter holding a knife.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to consider that this painting is representing the moment when Jesus announced to the disciples, one of you will betray me.
Right.
There is a traitor between them. And the only man, the only one, with a knife, with a weapon on the table, and the only one who is threatening another disciple is this man. This man is holding a knife, you know, you see
right
here, at the back is like in this position, and with the other hand is threatening this disciple, John. This man could be the traitor, I don't know, but if he's the traitor, he's Peter. And to say in 15th century that Peter was the traitor was the same than to say that the Pope of the time was a traitor to the message of
Christ.
Because
the popes are descendants of Peter.
Yeah, and this is the big heresy of the time.
And the Pope at the time was indeed quite a character.
And yes, a Spanish one. He was Alexander VI. He was the father of Lucrecia Borgia, you know, the famous character.
Sure. So all of this is unraveled in the book, and it's a fascinating book. Many other clues. None of the disciples, Jesus doesn't have a halo. What's on the table? No Eucharist. I mean, all of these are clues.
Yeah, it's the first time in the whole history of painting that Jesus is not consecrating the Eucharist, and he is painted as an ordinary man, not as a saint. There is no halo. And all this has a meaning, because the only heresy of that time, the only one, who considered Jesus only a man, who rejected the Eucharist, who rejected to eat meat, there is no meat on this table, was the Cathar heresy.
All of which is part of the book.
Yeah.
Javier Sierra, once again, interesting.